Much, not much. All right, well, guys, welcome into the next stream. This is the T&T Podcast. I'm your co-host, Tyler Layfield, joined by my co-host, Torrez Finney. How's it going, man?
What's going on, Tyler, man? Happy to do it again, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So getting into some stuff today. Y'all know last time we broke down the SEC East. We had all intentions. We're going to be going into the SEC West today, and a good way, I guess, to warm up with it was yesterday. Torrez and I, as we alluded to on last show, we did a college football fantasy draft last night. I was interested to hear, Torrez, this is your first year doing it with us, right? You didn't do it last year. How did you, or what did you think of the experience?
It was interesting, going through, looking at majority of the guys. Like, I saw some of the guys, that was seniors and juniors and stuff, and I had to sometimes go back and look at some of the stats and numbers of some of these other guys. I was really trying to be honest with you, try to find like the next breakout guy that a lot of guys necessarily wouldn't be looking forward to. Trying to see if I can find somebody that is going to have a little bit more of a better year. Like they had a little solid year last year. They're probably going to step up into the leading role. And probably have more of a successful year. So I was trying to find and look for a potential breakout guy. It was a little hard for me to do that, but I feel like I like my roster.
I'm sitting there looking at it now. I kind of like it too. For those of y'all out there, Torrez picked. Was Bo Nix who was your first? It was Bo Nix, right? Your first pick.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Bo Nix. He pairs him up with the running back for Oregon as well, Marquise Irving. I like those two picks. You got Blake Corum, Heisman candidate last year. Mayan Williams, another good running back from Ohio State. I've got his counterpart, Travion Henderson, so I'm hoping that he does pretty good. Got a wide receiver from TCU. You got Squirrel White, who I like a lot. We talked about him last episode with Tennessee. Looks like Antonio Williams from Clemson, and honestly, you stole this guy from me. I was kind of hoping I'd get this tight end, but Jatavian Sanders, tight end from Texas, I liked him a lot. So
I actually was trying my best to go after dang it, it was another tight end. What was the tight end that was rated right after the guy from Georgia? He was like number 2 on the list. I was actually trying to get him, but when I saw. I couldn't really, I'm gonna be honest with you, when I saw that I couldn't get him, I was like, well, I'm going to go for the next best guy. And I saw Sanders because I said, I need a solid tight end. I need a tight end that is going to so.
Yeah, Bowers went, I want to say, early second. So he's really the only tight end I found out last year that is really reliable. Like a lot of these guys, I had a guy last year he no longer has a tight end, I guess you could say title. CJ Donaldson from West Virginia. He was technically like a running back / tight end last year. So it was, I kind of had a cheat code in a way for a tight end. So I liked him a lot. Let's see here. All taken players. Let's see. Are you talking about the guy from Syracuse?
Syracuse, yes. Yeah. He was right behind our boy from Georgia, and I was like, okay. And I looked at some of his numbers, and I said, okay, he got solid numbers. And I was like, okay, I might have to try to get him because I knew I was trying to probably go for the tight end from Georgia, but I can't think of his name right now. I'm so blank.
Bob Bowers.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Dude, there's so much stuff going through my head now. I don't be so many names, man, so many things. But yeah, that's what I'm sitting trying to think. I was like, man, I'm potentially trying to get at the Bowers, but then I saw this guy from Syracuse, and I was like, okay, I might try to get him, but then somebody got him as well. So I went for the guy in Texas. So I think I got a solid one. How about your roster?
I had the number 2 pick. Torrez, I think you had the 5th pick. So the number 2 pick, I knew I was either going to get Caleb Williams, who I had last year, who carried me to a championship loss. I lost in the championship to Jackson, but I was either going to go with him or Quinshon Judkins. Marvin Harrison went number 1 in our league last night. D2 picked him. So I ended up going with Caleb Williams, and Judkins went right after. To follow that up, I went with Trey Benson, running back from Florida State, as well as Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State, two high upside running backs.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know,
good.
man. Yeah, I like those guys a lot. I was hoping, because based on the rankings on this platform we use, Fantrax, Rasheen Ali was ranked really low. Like, he was ranked extremely low. And for those of y'all keeping up out there, that's the running back from Marshall. So I was like, oh, since he's not rated as high, maybe I'll be able to just get him next round. But he literally went like 2 picks later. So it was just crazy. I really wanted Dorian Singer, the guy that's supposedly going to be the number one wide receiver for USC. So I have that Caleb Williams and Dorian Singer stack. So anytime they connect for a touchdown, I'm getting 12 points. So that'd be cool. I was just going for that. Yeah. I just punted on tight end. I ended up picking a tight end from SMU, RJ Maryland. Got Carson Steele, transfer running back to UCLA. He came from, I want to say, Ball State this past year, but he did pretty good there, put up good numbers. I just went high upside from there. Got some wide receivers. One of them we talked about last episode, Juice Wells from South Carolina. I think he can be the number one guy there, and I got some other guys. I'm not going to delve too deep into this because it's going to get to the point where people are just like, who is that? When you're doing these drafts, I don't know all these names. I'm just taking shots. Man.
I'm about to say, but you did your research. That's the thing. Is
I tried to, but it was. I'm not Jackson and Kobe. I feel like Jackson and Kobe, they do a strict college football podcast, so they automatically knew a lot of these guys. They have a little history with them, so I didn't have that. But there's still some good guys out there. I mean, that's the big thing. It's such a big pool that you could go and find some guys on the waiver wire, if you wanted to. I was kind of interested in that Antonio Williams before I knew. I thought for some reason he had fell all the way out of the draft. He had to have been one of your last picks, was he not?
Yeah, he was. So I picked the last two, so I wasn't going to be able to stick there for the whole draft. I had to get to bed, so I sat there and did the automatic.
You went to bed so early.
Yeah, I usually don't ever go to bed early. That's the thing. I'm a guy that
seriously. What's the deal with that?
For fight camp. Yeah, fight camp. We got everything planned out accordingly. So,
man, okay, taking it serious. I see. Nice, as you should. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. We'll see who gets it. Last year, like I said, me and Jackson making it to the championship. So we'll see if somebody else jumps in here in this year. So should be a fun year. So let's get into some SEC West here in a moment. And then maybe we could touch even on some preseason stuff, some NFL preseason. Were you able to catch any NFL preseason?
I've actually only watched probably a little bit of a game of here. I watched some of the Bears. Who did the Bears just play? I watched a little bit of that, and then I also watched a little bit of the Steelers and the Buccaneers, but it wasn't much. I actually didn't see the play between
Pickens.
Pickens, there you go, George Pickens, and
Pickens was nice.
I didn't see that. I did see it on Twitter, but I didn't see it live. I just saw the third string, and they look we got some depth. That's a good thing, and I also heard a lot of good things about the Falcons. So it was it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. We can maybe touch on it a little bit here. There was a recent signing as well right before we got on the show here, so we can touch on that here in a little bit. But let's get into SEC West. We'll jump into this immediately. We did, as we said, if you want to go hear our SEC rankings, go back to the previous show. Got a new intro coming in. I told Torrez I was working on one over the weekend, so hopefully y'all like it. We'll see what you guys think of the intro whenever y'all hear it on the podcast platforms out there. But go ahead. Let's look at our SEC West rankings and go from there. So, do you want to kick it off with the final team and work our way up like we did last time, or do you want me to kind of?
Yeah, let's do it like that.
Okay, so may come as a shocker here, but finishing last in the SEC West, I'm going to actually go with Mississippi State here. I got them going 4-8. The losses coming to LSU, South Carolina, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky, A&M, and Ole Miss. I just don't see them having that great of a year. Was never a big Mississippi State guy. especially with everything obviously happening with Mike Leach this past year, doesn't really help my perception of them, if you could say so. But I just don't see them being that great. And you look at the schedule. I mean, pulling it up right now. What were you gonna say?
I'm looking at their schedule right now. I said they do got a tough schedule. That's what I was
It
pulling up.
is.
Yeah,
It is. So I mean, pulling it up now is just so I can have it to kind of base it off of. But LSU, even though it's home, I got that being a loss. South Carolina, that's away. They're not going to beat Bama, I don't think, even if it is at home. Arkansas, it's going to be at Arkansas. Auburn, it's going to be at Auburn. That's why I have those two as losses, if you were wondering. Kentucky, I just think Kentucky's a better team. A&M, I think A&M's a better team, and it's at A&M. And then Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl, I just think Ole Miss is a better overall team as well. So that's the reason why I kind of went with my picks there. But you seemed a little shocked. So who did you have at the bottom?
Well, I was contemplating between them and Auburn last.
That's what. That's really what it comes down to.
I was leaning a little bit Auburn, but me looking back at their schedule, I mean, it depends on who I'm giving Auburn losses to, and
let's hear it. Who are you giving it to?
I probably would, after looking at the schedule now, I probably would have to go Mississippi State last as well. Because I didn't see that they had to play Arizona. I didn't see that they had to go on the road to play South Carolina. Those are two out of, well, they're both in conference, but it's out of the division type games. And you can probably automatically give them maybe LSU. I mean, not maybe. You can automatically give them LSU, Alabama, and at Texas A&M. Those are 3 losses. That home game against Ole Miss, those games are always close. They're always crazy. They can sometimes fluke up and steal it. But, yeah, you're right. Those are automatic 4 losses right there, I feel like. Then on the road at Arkansas, that's 5. At South Carolina, that's 6. Yeah, and then, like you got at Auburn. That'll depend on it. That could be 7. Dang, they do got bad. I might have to go Mississippi State at 8 as well. I'm going Mississippi State as 8 as well. I didn't think that schedule was that bad, but I'm sure I'm going with Auburn next. Because I wasn't impressed with Auburn.
So take me through Auburn. Who do you have them losing to then if you had them at 7?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Auburn lose to California. As crazy as it sounds. I know that's the second game of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised. At Texas A&M, I got that as a loss. At Georgia, at LSU, Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. I just said they beat Vandy. At Arkansas, number 6, and then at Alabama. So that's 7 losses right there for Auburn. Yeah.
I've got it literally the exact same. Like you said, Cal, A&M, UGA, LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Bama. So right on the spot. So we're tit for tat so far. Auburn, I mean, if we want to spend a little bit more time just on these two for just a second, I mean, just to give them their due diligence. Auburn, I don't know. I think they're definitely in rebuilding mode. I think both teams somewhat of a degree. I mean, you could honestly make a case that Auburn's more of in a rebuilding mode than Mississippi State, but that they're going to finish one game better. I think it's just due to scheduling and how it kind of worked out. But Mississippi State, they're returning Will Rogers at quarterback, and he's done pretty good there. And then a familiar face for us, Justin Robinson, former UGA Bulldog, transferred over there to be a Mississippi State Bulldog. And right now it looks like he's going to be the face of the offense in a way. They have him on all the hype videos. He, if you recall, he came from Eagles Landing and Eagles Landing Christian Academy, I want to say. And he was a good wide receiver, a guy that I really thought highly of coming into his recruiting class. Very talented and whatnot, just didn't work out for whatever reason at Georgia, and maybe he was able to put it together there. So I like those pieces. Mississippi State has been known to have some defensive players, come in the mix over there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see it then. But then you look over at Auburn. I mean, let's see what their depth chart's looking like. I mean, from what I was listening to this morning, I listened to Josh Pate this morning. He did a little camp, like spring scrimmage notes. From the sound of it, Peyton Thorne, the transfer they had, I want to say from Michigan State, hasn't been doing too well. So quarterback's going to be a problem. Like it might be a pretty bad season for Auburn.
Yeah, he's a redshirt senior. Okay.
Yeah, he's a redshirt senior transfer. They do still have Robbie Ashford, but it's going to be a big problem. I don't think they're going to have a great year by any means. A lot of transfers here. Like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are projected to be starters on defense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are projected to be starters on offense. Very transfer heavy. They are going to need it, I guess, this year, but they're going to have to just look to build and through recruiting. And right now, Hugh Freeze is doing that. You know, you can crack on him on his ways that he goes about it. Kind of can be a little skeevy. Is going to be a thorn in, whoever is recruiting against him side, just as far as that aspect goes. I do think he's going to be able to beef up some NIL deals for the guys that he's going after, but I think it's going to be a long year for them, and I do still think that they can pull out some wins, though, some of those tough Auburn wins that they normally do. So
Yeah, like I said, some of those games I wouldn't be surprised. Like for instance, playing Ole Miss at home. Could I see Auburn, stealing that one? Maybe.
they're just
Depends
that
on
kind
how
of
much
team.
they are that type of team. They are that
They
type of
are.
team. You
They're
have
just
to
that
see.
kind of team.
Now they play Alabama at home, but I don't see them. They're not beating
Mm-mm.
Alabama. But look, that last game of the season always gets weird. So
Yeah. So let me hear. Let's see. So we did 7-6. Who was your fifth?
all right, well, my fifth, and I know some people might, look at them because they're sometimes offense heavy, but I just never look really committed to their defense. But my fifth is going to be Ole Miss. All right,
Mm.
got Ole Miss number 5. I know they're going to beat Mercer. They go to at Tulane. That's going to be very telling a little bit. As crazy as it sounds, but Tulane is ranked number 24th in the country.
Tulane is going to be a tough game.
So, I think it's going to be a little bit of a telling of see where Ole Miss is going to be at. Um, Then heck, after that game, I mean, two weeks later they got to go on the road to play Alabama, and then they got to play LSU the following week at home, and then they got to play Arkansas the following week. So like that's 3 straight tough games. I feel like in their conference, and I don't know. I feel they're going to lose to Alabama. I think they're going to lose to LSU. I think they might beat Arkansas. So I'm not going to just throw them out away on that one. I think they beat Arkansas in that last one after coming off 2 back-to-back road losses. Sorry, 2 back-to-back losses. One on the road to Alabama, then LSU. Got a bye week, then at Auburn. I got them beating Auburn, then Vandy, Texas A&M. I actually got them losing to Texas A&M.
Okay.
Losing to Georgia, and then they beat. They win their way out against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. So, yeah, I got them losing to Bama, LSU, A&M, and Georgia.
So I guess where we differ is that that A&M game. That's where we're different. To be fair, it is at Ole Miss. It is not at A&M. That wouldn't be a difference maker here for me if it was away game for Ole Miss. But I do have them finishing at 4 in this one. I had them going 8-4 with losses to only Tulane, Bama, LSU, UGI. I do like Tulane. Tulane I've just always been a fan of. Like what talked about him before. Talk about him again. Willie Fritz. I like what he's built there. Good program, good culture. They got some players there, and the offensive scheme works, and it helps the defense out the way that they run that. So they're able to pick up yards. They can throw it. They can run it, especially run it. So I like what they can do. I got them finishing 4th, though. They got some good names, too. I mean, I've talked about them, briefly, but Quinshon Judkins, the running back there, he's a freaking beast. Still got Jackson Dart there. Got Spencer Sanders transfer from Oklahoma State, if you remember him, a really good quarterback. Some people, used him in the same breath as Heisman. Got a transfer, Zachary Franklin. He was one that I was kind of wanting last night in our draft. He came from UTSA. And then apparently another transfer from Louisiana Lafayette, Trey Harris. Kiffin's just a genius when it comes to offense, so I know he's going to get this thing right. The main thing to me is the defense. You never really know defensively what you're going to get with Ole Miss.
That's my problem too. The defense of Ole Miss. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have to really see them. I have to see them play a little bit before I can really say, oh, they're gonna be 4. And 4 in SEC West is actually you're gonna be pretty solid. Like I feel like most of the time the top 3 to 4 in SEC West most of the time are ranked. So not saying I don't think Ole Miss is gonna be ranked, but I'm just saying not gonna be ranked going, deep into the season. but I just don't think they're going to be able to compete with those top tier guys like that.
Yeah. Could we see an Ole Miss of old Hugh Freeze, type Ole Miss that pushes Bama and can beat Bama, back in those Chad Kelly years?
Yeah.
I don't know. Could we? We could. I mean, they didn't have, amazing defenses. They did have names like Robert Kendichi. They did have some other guys there that were able to help them out defensively. I just don't know if you have that guy. I don't know if you have that guy. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at him now. There's not really. I mean, I've heard of the JJ. I don't even know how you pronounce it, but Piguez. I don't know, from Auburn. I remember that name from Auburn. Maybe he can be somebody. I don't know, but I just don't think he's going to be on that level. I don't know. It's just it's tough with the defense with this team. So I'm not like supremely confident by any means, but they are my fourth. For me, my fifth, and we may have just flip flopped here, was Arkansas. Was that who's going to be your fourth?
Fourth, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, we look at Arkansas here. Let's pull up their schedule. They open it up against, let's see here,
Western Carolina.
That's a win. Then they get Kent State, a win. I had them in that third game against BYU. I have them still winning that one. That was one that I had to think about when I was going through my projections. Yeah, I had to think about it, honestly. BYU's that, I don't know, they're always going to be in it, I feel like. But I do have them losing to LSU. I have them losing to A&M, even though it is a home game for them. We'll get into A&M here in a minute. But
it's in Arlington, Texas. It's that game they play in Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
Oh, so it's going to be, okay, so it's just a neutral site game, right? Okay, well, that ain't even bad. But I do also have them losing to Ole Miss, Bama, and Mizzou. You know where I sit with Mizzou. I got them losing to Mizzou. So yeah, so that's probably the one that you kind of wrote off. That's the last game of the season. I do think that's going to be a Missouri win there, even though it's at Arkansas. I'll pick them.
That's the one where I probably
I knew you would, but based off of our conversation last one, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm gonna ride that wave.
You did say you think Missouri was going to be a little sleeper team to come up on this year, so
yeah,
we'll see. We will see.
I mean, you look at Arkansas though, just to kind of hit on them a little bit here. Bringing back KJ Jefferson, I mean that's a solid thing. Bringing back Raheem Sanders. Got a good running back. I don't know this guy that's technically rated second right here, but I think I do remember seeing this AJ Green being in the mix. Not the AJ Green we know of course, but another one. He was pretty good. Let's see. I'm looking at their defense. They got a guy named Jeff Coat here. He's a transfer from Missouri. Let's see. From there, I know Dwight McGlothern. He's a transfer, I want to say, from Texas. From LSU. We were in the recruitment of him. That's the reason why I remember him. And they also got one of our Georgia boys. They got Jaheim Singletary. He was a former, highly ranked cornerback. For whatever reason, just did not work out well at Georgia. But regardless, he's got the pedigree. He's got that South Florida, pedigree when it comes to being a DB. And he was really good in high school. Just haven't seen him at the collegiate level yet. Maybe he'll be able to show something this year to where we could see it. But they lost a lot on wide receivers wise. Matt Landers is gone. Jaden Hazelwood's gone. They got others, that have left the system. It's going to be a run heavy team. They're going to want to run it down your throat. The defense is just, I don't know. I've never been huge on it. Even last year, there was parts of it that I liked. Like I liked Drew Sanders a lot with that team last year, and I do think he could be a pretty good NFL player. But that weird, what was it? They like a 3-2-6, I think is what they ran. It was just a weird type offense, or not offense, but defense. And I remember them breaking it down before the games. They would show how it is so unique and how it's used and stuff. I'm just not a huge proponent of that, especially SEC. I just don't think it's going to work. So, your thoughts on Arkansas, though? Go ahead.
I think Arkansas is going to have a solid team. Like I said, with their 1-2 punch with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders coming back next year.
Yeah.
This upcoming season. I feel like it's going to be one of the best combos with quarterback and running backs throughout the conference. But you also have to recognize the fact that they had last year together. Arkansas actually had a lot of good games last year. They played solid. We remember the Alabama game where they came up just short. Yeah, Alabama still beat them.
Yeah.
They had some really good games. I felt like last year. What was their record last
They
year?
did.
8-5, 8-5 or something of that caliber. They had a
Let me
solid
see.
season. And I think they're only just going to grow for that. I like Lance Pittman. I love what he
Sam
brings
Pittman.
up. What do you say?
Lance Pittman. Sam Pittman.
Sam Pittman. I don't know why I said Lance. They
Ain't
gonna coach
that the Jones County?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, look, they lost a freaking neck and neck game against Texas A&M. That Alabama game was close up until the fourth quarter, and then they got blown out
You're
by
7-6, I think.
7-6. Yeah, they lost to Liberty and LSU.
Mm.
Then they lost to Missouri. I don't think they're gonna have those type of losses next year.
Oh,
I
Missouri,
don't
you
think
say, huh? That's
they're
crazy.
gonna have those type of losses next year. I don't see them having those type of losses. They did have some fluke games like losing to Liberty. That's pretty bad, but I don't see them doing that same thing again next year.
Yeah. You could be right. I think this team takes a step down, and I think it's hard for them to. I think this isn't as good of a team as it was last year. I do like the consistency as far. I have them being 7-5. I mean, same record as last year. I just don't see them taking a step up. I still think I like KJ Jefferson. Like I said, I like the running back Raheem Sanders. That's it. End of statement as far as this team goes. Really, I can't tell you anything on these wide receivers. I can tell you that offensive line wise, Sam Pittman is a pretty good offensive line coach. He recruits well, so I mean, I could probably bank on that somewhat. But I can't even bank on that defense. I don't see this team being a team that I can really hang my hat on and say I'll take them to win this. Those 50-50 games. I just don't think that I could take them on that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like I said, I got them winning. I got them losing to the top echelons of the freaking SEC. But besides that, I do see
Mizzou, man. I'm telling you, Mizzou, that's a 50-50 game. I don't take them winning that one, man.
Well, I can't wait for that one, man. We got to see that.
Craig's made a believer out of me. My boy Craig's done made a believer out of me on them. So I got to give him shouts. So take me to your number 3. I have a good feeling about who I think this is going to be.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I like what Texas A&M brings to the table, man. I like their team, and plus their schedule. I mean, now look, we've got to see. We got to remember this. For the past few years, Texas A&M has had some of the best rosters you can possibly have in college football. Now it's about them executing. Okay, I think at this point with Jimbo Fisher constantly, having to deal with a lot of these people keep coming at him like, oh man, you're not doing what you thought you could do at Texas A&M, what you thought you had at Florida State. I feel like this is one of those years to where he can all right, I'm going to finally have one of my better years, and I feel like this is going to be the year for him at Texas A&M. I don't see him still. I think they're going to be in contention to win the SEC West, but I'm not saying they're just going to flat out win it. I already actually got my winner who I think is going to win it, but they are going to be in contention. I think their Texas A&M will be neck and neck until they have to play to one of the top tier teams. It's going to come down to the final few games, but I feel like they'll be in contention to win SEC West. So I got them beating New Mexico at Miami, Louisiana Monroe, Auburn, Arkansas. The Alabama game they get to play at home. I'm telling you, man. I wouldn't be surprised, man. I actually slick lean a little bit.
I've got them. I've got Bama winning that one, but God Almighty, is that going to be a hard game for Bama? That's going to be a hard game for Bama.
A hard game for Bama. But see, this is the thing, though. So I feel
that's leading into Tennessee.
So that's the thing that's going to get me. I think A&M might beat Bama, but Lord, to play the following week at Tennessee,
that's a bang bang.
Bang bang. I know, and I think that's the loss that they take first rather than Alabama. So I am going and calling it. I am calling it. Texas A&M beats Alabama at home, but it will lose the following week to Tennessee.
Actually, hold on. How did I do that?
I'm sorry, they beat South Carolina. That at Ole Miss is going to be rough. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be real rough. But I think they beat Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Abilene Christian, but they lose to LSU. So I got them having 2 losses.
You know what? I screwed up my thing on here. Yeah, I had them being a 2-loss team as well. I don't know how I ended up doing that earlier. For some reason, I had it written down that I had them losing to Bama, but I did Bama's first, and I had A&M beating them. So yeah, they're actually not going to be my third. They're going to be my second. So yeah, while I'm here, I may as well talk about them. A&M. I mean, what's the like? They got the freaking blue chippers, dude. They got the freaking talent to make it happen, Captain. Connor Weigman at quarterback. They got Max Johnson backing him up. I mean, it's going to hinge a lot on the quarterback position. But then again, you know, what was it, a couple years ago? You know, we saw them pull it out of their butt, right? They were on the third string quarterback, Zach Calzada, and they were able to bring home a win. But it's gonna hinge on that a lot. Amari Daniels at running back. I don't know too much about the running backs. Not gonna lie. Outside of their third string guy, that's Reuben Owens, the freshman phenom that is Reuben Owens, who definitely is getting paid mega bucks to be there. But got him. They still bring back Evan Stewart, who's when his recruiting class, he was one of the probably the best, if one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in that class. He was great. Anais Smith, he's back in the system. Moose Muhammad, who's a pretty good guy there. They got a flip from Georgia and Raymond Contrell. He could be okay maybe. But they got some guys nonetheless. If they're able to offensively, if they're able to move the ball and eat up time, I think that what they really can hinge on is the defense, and that's what I'm getting into here, man. I love a lot of these names I see on defense, dude. Shamar Turner and Shamar Stewart, both coming in on the same class. Like they were studs. McKinley Jackson, great player. Walter Nolan, he's a freaking beast. They got Fadil Diggs. They got some guys behind him that have some promise in LT Overton, Eni White. They were some highly rated guys in their class. Then you kind of move over. You got some other guys too. The secondary doesn't look too bad. I think they can do some stuff. Tony Grimes, a former 5-star corner. He's transferred from, I want to say, North Carolina it was. Sam McCall, I want to say he transferred from Florida State. They got some guys. And especially playing at home, I like that for them at Bama. But going through, like you said, I've got them only losing games to Tennessee and LSU. Like I called last time, I was like, it's going to be a revenge game. Tennessee's going to get the revenge. I feel like this week, especially coming off the Alabama game, they could be riding that high and could slip up that next game. And then lastly, the LSU game. It's at LSU, and LSU, we're going to get into them here, but there's a lot to be said about LSU. So, yeah, I got those being the 2 losses going to them. So I guess that leads me into Bama. The one that people really want to hear, right? People really want to hear the best part. I think Torres is ready to hear it.
Uh-oh.
Technically, if we're being honest, I have them at 3. I had it mixed up on my rankings, but I have them at 3, honestly, because I have them losing 3 games. I have them going 9-3 this year. Yes, got them losing. Yeah, I got them losing to Texas. I got them losing to A&M.
Hold on, Tyler. Texas at home?
Yes, I will take it.
Alabama at home against Texas. You taking Texas?
Home don't really mean as much in Tuscaloosa, in my opinion. I'm being serious. I really don't think it. Even like Saban's come out about their fans and everything. Like their fans like dip out during games. Like they don't really have a great crowd. You could say there. Honestly, I'm being so serious. There's been a lot to be said. I mean, we could probably go on record with Kobe and Jackson and ask them, but there's a lot that's been said. Like as far as like home crowd advantage, I guess you could say, or home field advantage, it's really not a huge thing there. Now, if we flip it to the other side, that Texas environment last year when it was Alabama at Texas, now that was an environment, dog. That was an environment. Don't get me wrong, like, it's going to get loud at Alabama and everything, but it's not like one of those stadiums where it's like breaking decibel records and crap like that.
No,
it's just not that type of crowd. It's just not that type of crowd.
I know it's not but bro, they're loud. Now, granted, when I was there, when we played them, granted, it was like Jalen Hurts and and all the other cats. They had some freaking phenomenal talent along with that.
Yeah.
They were loud, and for what it was for a freaking Chattanooga game, I can only imagine.
Don't get me wrong, it's going to be loud, but I don't know. I don't really put them in the upper echelon as far as like home field advantage.
Look, you got to remember this. Texas is going to be ranked number 11. All right, going in, Alabama's number 4. This is almost a top 10 matchup, basically. And you telling me?
Well, it will be by then.
So, yeah, you think one of the ranked teams going to lose?
Maybe not even that, but I mean, you got to think after week 1 performances and stuff, sometimes they'll just bump up somebody just off of how good they did, you know. I think it could be. I honestly think they're going to bump them up into the top 10 just so they can say, all right, this is a top 10 matchup. I'm not even meaning it like that, dog. I'm not even meaning it like that, but like, I honestly think it's just better for ratings. I think it's just better for ratings. You can get more people.
That's the thing too, Tyler. That's why I feel like that crowd is going to be loud and rowdy because you playing a top 10 matchup at home in the second game. You telling me the crowd ain't going to come out for that when they ain't got to worry about no weather? Oh, come on, man.
It's a 7 p.m. game too, so that'll help them out. I have it being a loss, and I'll get into that here. All right, let me just go ahead. Let's look at the. All right, so this is an Alabama time thing, but now that we're getting into the Alabama Texas, just so you're looking at, let's just look at Texas for a second, okay? Right. They're bringing back Quinn Ewers, okay? Even behind him, they got Malik Murphy, they got Arch Manning, and camp stuff. They talked about this past scrimmage. Arch Manning's looking pretty good. Now, again, they're not going to have Bijan Robinson. They're not going to have Roschon Johnson, but they are going to have. I mean, their running backs. I mean, they get guys in. You know, they're going to be. I thought they're going to be fine for the most part. There, they have done pretty good when it comes to recruiting the offensive line in these years past. So I do think they've gotten better than that. You look at the wide receiver. Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington. That's just good enough right there, just those 3. I like those a lot. And then that's not even counting Isaiah Neyor, who I don't really know the status of, but he was out all last year. They got some talent there. Then on top of that, I do think, we're adding in the aspect of Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian, dude, he lost that game last year, man. He lost that game knowing good and well he should have won that game. He should have been one of the Saban tree guys that came back and won and beat the master, whatever. They should have won that game. Regardless of what you say, they should have pulled that game out. It was right there for them to take. It just didn't happen. It wasn't in the cards, you could say. He's going to come back. Sarkisian is a genius when it comes to offensive-minded, schematics and whatnot. I do think the defense is going to be better this year. I was listening to some stuff on, like I told you, Josh Pate. He was talking about some scrimmage stuff. He thinks that their defense is going to be able to hold up against the run better, and that's going to come into play. Keep that in mind. Their defense is going to be able to hold up against the run better. I want you to remember that here in just a second when I talk about Bama. Okay? They got some good, last year they actually did good against Bama for the most part. When you hold it to the standards of teams that we look at that play Bama, they actually did decent against them. And that's going against a top-tier quarterback that can stretch the field. Bryce Young. Who are they going to be going against this year? Jalen Milroe? Okay? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's one thing facing Bryce Young. It's a whole different ballgame facing Jalen Milroe, and this isn't
You don't think he's going to improve? You don't think he's going to improve?
Milroe? He'll be better. He'll be better than he was last year. I mean, but what the baseline of that isn't crazy. I mean, they nearly, you said it yourself, they nearly lost the game to A&M, and he was the starter then. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, what's the baseline? It's low, man. The level is low. I mean, he has no choice but to improve, and it's not exactly a resounding thing to come in and say, all right, we're going to have a QB competition. It still is a QB competition, I think, but Buckner's not in it. But the fact that they brought Buckner in just shows the confidence that I think they had in him at that time and Milroe at that time. But
Well, I think now
go
it's
ahead.
going to be time for Alabama to try to do more of building the offense around Milroe in a way, or
They
allowing
will. They're going to
doing
have
the
to.
best that they can to help Milroe feel comfortable. That's why I feel like he'll look better this year in that regards. He might not be better than what he was last year, but I think he'll grow because they're
They'll
like,
be a little
okay,
bit better, and they
and
will tailor it around him. You're
they're
right.
building
They
the
will.
offense around him. It's like, well, this is what we got, and this is what we got to deal with. Now,
Yeah,
but now it just comes down to the running game of Alabama, which we know they got a lot of guys. They got that Jace
they
McClellan,
do.
they got that Justin Haynes, um,
Justice Angel.
Justice Haynes, Rodell Williams. So it'll be interesting to see. It just be interesting to see what they can make of it because Alabama is known for making something good out of something nothing. So we got to see what they do first. We just got to see what they do
I mean,
first.
you're right. But I do think Texas is going to be. I think they're going to be prepared. I
What you
really
think
do. I
about
think they're
Alabama
going to be.
defense this year, then?
So yeah. Let's get into Bama for a minute. I do think Texas is going to be prepared. So let's get into Bama. Let's talk about them. Let's look at their team as a whole. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll start off with offense. I'll shoot over to defense. All right. Looking at it, we talked about the quarterback thing. That's going to be the big thing hanging over all of this. It will be Milroe. I don't see anybody else getting it. If anything, it'll be Ty Simpson. Even Kobe was saying it when I was talking to him yesterday. Buckner isn't going to see the field, is what he's saying. You mentioned it, but the running game, they are going to have McClellan, who has shown some good stuff. I will say that he is the one proven commodity there. When it comes to running back. Now, they do have some high upside guys, like you said, in Justice Haynes, who I'm a huge believer of, and I will continue to say it. I think he's going to be amazing. And they have Richard Young as well, who's another 5-star running back. So, I mean, they got guys there. Offensive line wise, they got some guys there that are going to be pretty good too. I mean, J.C. Latham's good. Tyler Booker's good. Seth McLaughlin's been there. Guy from Buford. We watched him. You were in town for that Buford Jones County game, right?
Yeah,
When Jones County hosted.
I've been
Yeah,
watching him.
he was
Yeah,
playing then. He did pretty good. Darian
yeah.
Dalcourt, pretty good. Elijah Pritchett, pretty good. Caden Proctor right behind him. He's good. They got guys. Okay. The wide receivers, you look at that. Jermaine Burton. We all know that's just. I'm not going to put any respect really on that. Ja'Cory Brooks, he's okay. Kobe Prentice, okay. I'm not. I mean, but really, I'm used to seeing Devontae Smith. I'm used to seeing Jerry Jeudy. I'm used to seeing Jalen Waddle. I mean, you can go. The list goes on. These aren't those type of guys. Like this is a step down from what they're used to, dude. You can bring up Isaiah Bond. He's had some moments. I think they had one guy that's coming in, Malik Benson. He's going to be like a JUCO transfer. He might can do something. I will say that they said he was really good. He's like the number one JUCO wide receiver. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to tailor this whole offense about running the ball. And what better quarterback to do it than Jalen Milroe? But what happens when you face a team that can stuff the run and your defense has to keep being on the field? That's what I'm saying. Think back to that when I'm talking about Texas. Okay, if they are able to stop the run, where does that put this team at? Okay, now let's look at the defense. I do like some pieces here. I don't really care for their linebackers outside of Dallas Turner. I'll take him. I mean, it's no. Everybody knows Dallas Turner is going to be he's going to be good. But the reason I don't really care for the wide receiver or the linebackers, they brought in Tresman Marshall. I mean, from Georgia, who couldn't even really play that much at Georgia. So what makes you think he's going to be great at Bama? I know that kind of sounds bratty, but I mean, is it not the truth? I mean, you're even seeing freshmen get over him and stuff like that. I don't know. I just don't think that's a great sign as far as that goes. They do got some other guys. Jaheim Otis, who's an absolute tank at nose tackle. I do like him. Tim Smith can be pretty good. Justin Aboigbe, he might be pretty good. Outside of that, I'm not like going to sit here and know everybody. I do remember the James Smith recruitment and the Tim Keenan recruitments. The big body guys that can play nose tackle.
What about
You look at
Downs? What you think about
say that
Caleb
again.
Downs? Caleb Downs at free
Oh,
safety.
Caleb Downs, yeah, he will be starting, and he will be good. I do think he's going to be. I think he is going to be pretty good. They did bring in. I mean, they got Kool-Aid McKinstry back again as well. Everybody knows he's pretty good. They did bring in a transfer at another corner spot, Trey Amos from Louisiana. So I don't know how that's going to go. Jalen Key, a grad transfer from UAB. Does that sound like Bama to you?
No.
Not trying to be rude, but does that sound like Bama to you? I've never seen them, dipping from UAB and Louisiana, stuff like that. So that's just something to think about. I'm just not over the moon about these guys like I've been in the past. Last year I could at least say they're going to be dangerous. They got, Bryce Young, and then that's all you really needed to say. I just don't think they got that this year, and that's why I do think they end up going through the schedule. Let's look. Middle Tennessee, it's a win. Texas, I will take that as a loss for them. I think Texas shows up to that. Call me crazy. You can call it blasphemy, whatever you want. I do think Texas will show up to that, and I think they get the revenge. I think they finish what they did started last year. They beat South Florida. I'm pretty sure I had them beating Ole Miss. Let me check it real quick. Yes, I have them beating Ole Miss, beating Mississippi State, losing to A&M at A&M. Me and you both talked about that. I think we both have that one down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then let's see here. Beating Arkansas. I have them getting the revenge against Tennessee, like I've stated, and then I have them losing to LSU, even though it's in Tuscaloosa. Like I care. I know you care. I don't. Beating Kentucky, beating Chattanooga, and then beating Auburn to finish it off. So I got them with 3 losses.
Wow.
You can call it what you want. I just
Ooh.
Yeah.
3. I thought 2 was pushing it. This man said 3.
I think it's pushing it. A&M and LSU, I think we made great cases for. The one thing you can say is maybe the Texas take has a chance of coming back to bite me, and I fully will take that. But if you're going to beat Bama, and you're Texas, I think this is the year. Okay, I really do. I just really think it is.
It might be the year, but I don't think it's going to be the year, sadly, because even with them coming towards the SEC, it's still going to be a struggle for them boys, man. They ain't going to have. I think they're going to be able to recruit better. They will be able to recruit better. But
they recruit pretty fine as is, man.
Yeah, I mean they do, but
it will help them a little bit more. But I'm telling you, like they're not bad when it comes to recruiting. They're able to throw NIL around. They got the boosters to back it up, brother.
Yeah,
they got the boosters to back it up, man.
I mean, I got LSU second. I'm sorry, I got Alabama second as well, but I don't have them losing to Texas, obviously, but I do have them losing to Texas A&M and a nail biter against LSU. But see, this is the thing. This is why I got
a nail biter.
That's why Alabama's like my 1B, all right? Instead of like I got LSU as the top, we'll get to them. But like Alabama's like my 1B because I feel like they could beat LSU in that game, and I feel like we could see them. That's why I said this could be a neck and neck race between A&M, Alabama, and LSU. I can see all of these teams, beating each other.
You can make a good case, yeah.
Who did what? Who beat what team or who lost to what team. And I feel like Alabama's going to put themselves in that type of situation. That's the reason why I am skeptical on them losing to both A&M and LSU. I can see them. They're going to lose one of them.
You make a good point.
It's going to be really tough. That's why I was saying I'm pushing it with Alabama at 2 losses. When you said 3, I'm like, what the freak?
You make a good point. But there's blood in the water, brother. There's blood in the water. I'm just telling you right now, I've talked about a transfer from UAB. I don't know if I've ever really said anything about that. They got new coordinators in, and I don't believe in their defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't believe in the other guy, Golden, but I don't really like Kevin Steele either. Saban is still there, but how much is that going to take you? I don't know. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. And he don't have the quarterback to save him now.
They don't. They ain't got.
You had your Tuas, you had your Mac Jones, I don't think Milroe's on that level, dude. And I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he goes out and just absolutely just.
I don't think he's on that level either.
Puts me in awe.
I don't think he's on that level either, but I do think they make the offense easier for him to be able to be successful. That's why
I'm just wondering. Because people bring up, they were able to do it with Jake Coker. But I'm just wondering, and it will be interesting to see, can you still pull that kind of stuff in today's college football? And I don't know if you can. It's a whole new ball game.
Hold on, who said that with Jake Coker? Do they not remember who was playing running back in that now?
Pretty sure Kobe. Kobe brought up on the goal line stand. Yeah.
That running back went Heisman last time I checked.
Jason McClellan ain't Derrick Henry either. And they had who was the defense coordinator? Torrez.
Exactly. Come
Who
on,
was the
man.
defense coordinator? I don't think
Like
Kevin Steele is
Utah.
that dude. I don't think he's that dude, man.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
can the play styles match up? Because I mean, that kind of offensive scheme works really good if you got a really good defense. So we'll see if it can work. We'll see if it can work. I'm skeptical. Call me crazy. Take me into LSU though. How you got LSU doing this year, man?
Man, I got LSU having a really good season. Like I said, I'm skeptical on them. I think they might lose one game, and that one game could be to Alabama. But if not, I got them having a good game. I think they're going to have a close game against Florida State. It's that first game of the season, man, where a lot of mistakes happen. You'll see a lot of people be like, "Oh, LSU ain't who they think they are. They struggle at Florida State."
I
But
need to look at the line on that game. I want to look at the line and see what it is.
definitely let me know what that is. I actually like to see that. But I think
Uh-huh.
I think Florida State is going to give them a game, but I think LSU still pulls it out. Then Grambling State at Mississippi State. I think that's another little bit of a test. I think they get that job done. They beat Arkansas at Ole Miss. Like I said, I'm not confident in Ole Miss defense, but I do like what Ole Miss do sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss could pull it off, but I am still going with LSU. Missouri at Missouri, that might be a closer game for you than for me. I think they handled Missouri pretty well. Auburn, Army at Alabama, which is I feel like is their best chance at a loss if they don't have one already against Ole Miss. But after that, I think they handle Florida, Georgia State, and that Texas A&M game, what I feel like could be a potential winner goes to the SEC championship type game. So if I'm going with them to win all of their games out, and I think they're going to the SEC championship game. Since I have to make a prediction, I think they're going to the SEC championship game undefeated. But I will say I think LSU could slip up against the game on the road against Alabama, and they will have one loss. But like I said, I could see all. That's why I had Alabama 1B, but I got LSU as my 1A. But I can definitely see that being the only game. Besides that game, I think they handled all the other games pretty well. There'll be some nail biters in between, but I think they held the rest of their schedule pretty well.
It would be interesting to see how this play. Like if this thing played out the way that I laid it out, where let's just say A&M, they go through, they beat Bama, they beat Tennessee, or they beat Bama. Because I had them losing to Bama, Tennessee, and or no, I had them beating Bama, Tennessee, and LSU, or Bama, and then losing to Tennessee and LSU. My bad, I keep getting mixed up here. So they come in with one loss. Let's just say LSU goes into that last game undefeated, and A&M comes in with one loss. How good of a freaking game that would be! Like winner playing for because at that point, if A&M won that, they'd have the tiebreaker over LSU at that point. That would be a good game, man. That'd be a really freaking good game.
And it would be, and if LSU is able to run through their schedule as we predict, it wouldn't be too far fetched to say, "Oh, LSU still deserves a shot in the playoff." Depending on what you see, and also depending on the performance of the game itself, and obviously the performance of Texas A&M in the SEC championship game, depending on who they play.
Yeah, I have them going undefeated. I don't see them losing a game, and I know it sounds crazy. I like the team a lot. I like the way this thing is playing out. I think that since they kind of overperformed or outperformed, the expectations from this past year, it only kind of makes you think that they can make it even better this year. Bringing back Malik Neighbors, he's going to be a stud. Brian Thomas could end up being pretty good. I mean, LSU, they always end up getting these receivers that are pretty good, and I don't see that ending here. Mason Taylor made a name for himself with that game-winning catch in the end zone against Bama and that nail biter this past year. Jaden Daniels returning with Garrett Nussmeier to back him up, just in case anything were to happen to Jaden Daniels. To have that contingency of Garrett Nussmeier, who came in and just started lighting it up against Georgia, he did look good. Just to have that available for you, that's awesome. Noah Kane coming in, he's a transfer that they were able to pick up. He's looked. He's got the pedigree to be pretty good. I thought they'll end up having somebody step up there to back him up. Looking on the defensive side, you're bringing back Mekhi Wingo, who I liked, and Mason Smith, who's an absolute beast. Like, that guy is great. Mason Smith is amazing at football. and I think that only is going to continue this year. He did have an injury last year that kind of nagged at him, knocked him out, but he is so freaking good. Harold Perkins again too, linebacker for them, absolute goon. He's going to be able to hold it down there. They did pick up some transfers. They got about, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4 on their teams. A guy from Oregon State. He's a linebacker, Omar Spades. They got a Zy Alexander from Southeast Louisiana. So that's not, not the greatest thing, I guess, in the world. And then a guy from Syracuse coming in. We'll see how it plays out. I like them a lot this year. I do think they got what it takes. I think, just riding that success from last year. Brian Kelly, as much as I hated him at Notre Dame, he's kind of gaining my respect here at LSU. So I think they're going to be pretty good. I think it's lining up pretty well for them. You brought it up, A&M and Alabama being the two, road bumps that could come into play. But, I don't know. I think if I had to pick one, if we're playing 50-50 here, I'll go with them on it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I think they're gonna have a few close ones, but maybe could we be overrating LSU a little bit because of this?
We might could.
Because I think a lot of people look at success from last year and thinking, oh, well, that's just going to carry on. Not necessarily, but we'll see more of like what LSU is able to offer. I feel like in that first game, I already said there's going to be mistakes made because it's the first game of the season, but Florida State's a good test that I feel like for them.
They're 2.5-point favorite, by the way. Florida State, LSU is a 2.5-point favorite. Yes,
that's playable money right there.
Take it. I would take them to cover it.
Yeah.
I really would. I would take, even though it's in Orlando, in the state of Florida. I think I would take them to cover it against Florida State. So looking on this, because I was about to say that I felt like they, last year, who was their running back last year? LSU. Remember?
I do not actually.
I don't either. That's what I'm trying to think of off the rib. 2, 23. Let's see. John Emery was running it. It looks like. And now they got Noah Kane. But yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head who they were having. So again, yeah, Josh Williams, he's on the roster. I didn't know if he was the starter or not, but yeah, it was just, I don't know. Ever since like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I haven't really had like a guy that stuck out to me from them.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Running back by committee. They're more about running back by committee.
Yeah. Well, we're in a good distance on that, so I don't think we need to really talk any preseason week one. The one news I will bring up, and it is regarding my fantasy. We talked about Ramondre Stevenson a couple weeks back. They did just bring in Ezekiel Elliott before the show. How do you see that impacting Ramondre Stevenson?
No. It's not like Zeke, was having this all type of wild production. So we got to first see what type of Zeke we get back because he was dealing with a lot of injuries. If it's a healthy Zeke, I still think he's probably going to get, 800, 700 yards on the year. I think it's still going to be more of a running back by committee. Ramondre is going to be used. Ramondre was good. He's going to be used, man. He's going to it's going to affect probably his numbers. You probably going to get the numbers you thought you was going to get at first because it does make a difference. But don't put too much value in Zeke because Zeke does have his problems. And I think once Belichick recognized that, he's going to be impactful, but they're going to stay with Stevenson, I feel like. Stevenson is the guy to go for, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You made me feel better. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening in. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We appreciate all of you that tuned in to today's live stream and that all of you out there listening in on podcast. If you want to continue to listen to us, or if you're listening right now and you want to, just download us, download this later on. If you're just catching the tail end, you want to listen to it later on when you're mowing the lawn or while you're working out, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere podcasts are located. If you want to support the show in any other way, you can click in the description of this podcast, click on the link tree, and there's many different ways you can help out. Make sure to follow us on our socials and keep up with us. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Boom, boom.